This just in.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. News update. 49ers making roster moves ahead of their Seattle Seahawks matchup. And of course, the 49ers have been dealing with some injuries at certain positions. And we've heard Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch talk before about how they do their due diligence when it comes to bringing players in. Well, they've brought in a veteran defensive back in Logan Ryan. Logan Ryan will be joining his fifth NFL team in his career, but he's been in the league since 2013. Played for the New England Patriots. He had some really successful seasons with them, including in 2013 when he played cornerback. He had 5 interceptions in that season. He had 2 interceptions in 2014. He had 4 in 2015, 2 in 2016. And then later again in 2019 when he was playing for the Tennessee Titans, he had another 4 interception season. So when he was at corner, he made a lot of things happen. So the 49ers are going out and they're adding a veteran to help at the safety position. And it was always a wonder when this was going to happen, right? We talked about potentially would they go out and get a familiar face like Jaquiski Tart, or would they, get another guy maybe that they've had around the facility, in recent memory. Would it be Taylor Hawkins coming up from the practice squad? The belief has been, though, that it needed to be a veteran because Tayshaun Gibson, for instance, in this game, dealt with a little bit of an ankle. He came back, but he was out a few plays, and they had to go to Isaiah Oliver playing safety. I'm not sure that's exactly what they want. They want to make sure they have depth in case Gibson goes down. You don't want 2 guys that aren't as familiar with playing safety. Of course, Jair Brown has played pretty well as a rookie, but you don't want him being the leading force as the guy that knows what's going on. You need a steady presence, and that's exactly what the San Francisco 49ers are trying to get with Logan Ryan, a guy that has really good coverage skills, but can also come up and make some good tackles. He's a good, firm tackler, and he's been around the league for a while. His last year he played for Tampa Bay. He played in 9 games. 6 of those games he started. He had 1 interception. He was in on 37 tackles, and he had 1 tackle for loss. So it's a guy that's been around a little bit, but he's going to add some veteran leadership to the 49ers secondary. And ultimately, that's what the 49ers needed at this point. It stabilizes that back end. Now, with that came a little bit of an interesting move. The San Francisco 49ers have decided to waive former third-round pick Ty Davis-Price. So the 49ers, at another time, release another third-round running back. Of course, they did this with Trey Sermon. Now they're doing it with Ty Davis-Price. Don't know if he'll end up back with the 49ers on the practice squad. I'm sure they would love to bring him back in that type of role. But what kind of interest will he garner around the league? When you waive a running back and a young running back like Ty Davis-Price, other teams can claim him. So if a team puts in a claim, he's pretty cheap. They could acquire Ty Davis-Price along the waiver wire. So the 49ers are running a risk of potentially losing out on a running back. But I think they're pretty comfortable with who they have ahead of him. Christian McCaffrey, of course, they traded for after they had drafted Ty Davis-Price. Then they had Elijah Mitchell, who's now looked healthy and looked back to form. And Jordan Mason was an undrafted free agent coming out of the same draft as Ty Davis-Price, and he has definitely outplayed Ty Davis-Price. I think Davis-Price did a very good job in training camp, and he made it so it was tough for the 49ers to move on from him, and that's why they kept him on the roster. But right now, with the situations that they have at certain positions, it dictates they need to move on from Ty Davis-Price and sign a veteran player like Logan Ryan. So the 49ers making roster moves there, and there could be more to come because coming out of the game against the Philadelphia Eagles, there were a few injuries that must be noted. Of course, Eric Armstead is dealing with the foot, which he was dealing with going into the game, but came out of the game not just dealing with a foot, but a knee. Coach Kyle Shanahan said on Monday when he spoke to reporters that they were going to know more on Wednesday. So we're going to get a clearer update once Eric Armstead news comes out on where his knee is at and how long he could potentially be out. But they didn't want to speculate on that until they had further information. Darrell Luter Jr., who just came back from the PUP list not that long ago, is dealing with a little bit of a hamstring. And that's interesting because he's the one that made a big play against the Seahawks to go ahead and run down Dee Eskridge and now he's dealing with that. So the 49ers losing a little bit of depth in the secondary, at least for 1 week. Kyle Shanahan believed he would miss a week. So another reason to have another veteran presence like Logan Ryan, who can play corner and safety, corner in a pinch. I think it's more safety, but just another reason you have to bolster your defensive back room. And then when you look at Ross Dwelley, the 49ers potentially are going to move Ross Dwelley to the IR. That move could come this week. We'll see. A lot of people expected when Logan Ryan got signed that Ross Dwelley was going to be the corresponding move to free up that roster spot on the 53-man roster, with Dwelley going to the IR. So far, the 49ers haven't made that move, and we don't know what that means. Could it mean that they're not going to put him on IR? Potentially. The fact it's a high ankle sprain, though, means 4 to 6 weeks. It makes him a prime IR candidate. The 49ers have 3 tight ends on the roster besides Ross Dwelley: George Kittle, Charlie Warner, and Braden Willis, the young rookie. So the 49ers could roll with that. And if they do, they have an extra roster spot if they put Dwelley on the IR. Could that go to another tight end? Potentially. Kyle Shanahan was asked about Zach Ertz, and he said he hadn't heard from John Lynch about Zach Ertz, but he knows that John Lynch always does his due diligence when it comes to players, and the pro scouts are always looking at those guys. That he has a lot of respect for what Ertz has done in this league. So potentially that could be somewhere the 49ers could go, or they could just look to their own roster. They have a player in Danny Gray that's sitting on the IR. They could just go ahead and activate Danny Gray and roll with an extra wide receiver, knowing that you have Braden Willis to fill the tight end void of Ross Dwelley in 3 tight end sets. So lots of decisions for the San Francisco 49ers. I'm sure this isn't the end of the roster moves this week. Something will probably happen with Dwelley, and we'll see if another signing comes. Jason Verrett has still been in conversations. Maybe now they have to make a move in that direction. We'll see. All I know is the San Francisco 49ers are always looking to bolster any part of their roster to make sure that they are ready and able to play at the highest of levels, and Seattle Seahawks are on the horizon. So Logan Ryan comes to the San Francisco 49ers to add safety depth. It's a solid veteran signing. Out goes Ty Davis-Price, a promising running back through the 49ers field. They just need to move on to create a roster spot with the 3 guys ahead of him that are pretty good. Will Ty Davis-Price end up on the practice squad? Unsure, but more things I'm sure are going to be coming this week. And if they do, come right back here to 49ers Cutback for all your 49ers news. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already on that push for 5K. Hope to catch you guys all on the next one. Until then, stay safe. Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.